Hello, welcome to the HR Diary. Today, I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can help you with diversity and inclusion analytics using these four examples. In the first example, I will show you how to predict the impact of a 1% increase in ethnic diversity on an organizational revenue. In the second example, we will go through how to predict the impact of a 1% increase in gender diversity on an organizational revenue. For the third example, I will show you how ChatGPT can help you prescribe interventions to enhance diversity and inclusion in your organization. And for the fourth example, I will show you how ChatGPT can help you to derive the correlation between ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and revenue specific to an organization. So, how can we use ChatGPT for diversity and inclusion analytics? Let's dive in and see it in action. Now, if I go to chat.openai.com, I will be brought to this screen. Now, you have to log into ChatGPT to come here. To learn how to sign up for ChatGPT, you can check out my YouTube video called ChatGPT Crash Course, how to sign up and use ChatGPT. I have provided the link to this YouTube video in the description below my YouTube video. So let's go back to the ChatGPT interface. So this is the ChatGPT interface. Now you can start asking it questions at the text box at the bottom of your screen here. Now, let's get back to the Excel spreadsheet for our first example. So I have four examples here. Let's get to the first example of how to predict the impact of a 1% increase in ethnic diversity on an organizational revenue. Here I have some data over the years. So in this example, I want to predict the impact of advertising expense, inclusion rating. This is how an employee feel, whether they feel included in the organization. And you can get this rating through employee surveys by asking them their feelings of inclusiveness. So like a score of 100 means they feel very included. A score of 0 means they don't feel included at all. And then I have a revenue here, and I have the various ethnic group in this organization, where there is 3 ethnic groups: the Chinese, the Malay, and the Indian. Right? So now let's select the data set, right click it, and click the copy. Then we go back to my ChatGPT site. So go to this box, right click, and select the case. And I can either click on here, or I hit the enter key on my keyboard. So let me click on this, and the data is pasted here. So ChatGPT says it seems that you have provided a table with some financial data. Please let me know if you have any specific questions related to the table, or if you need help interpreting the data. So next, I want all right, I want it to convert into a table. So because it's difficult to read here, so let me type in this chat box here: convert the above data set into a table. And then I hit enter on my keyboard. Oops. Okay, let's click this. Let's see. Yes, it's converting this, which is difficult to read, into a nice table. Now, I want ChatGPT to convert this ethnic group, Chinese, Malay, Indian, it to calculate an ethnic diversity index for these three. So let's give it my instruction here. The columns Chinese, Malay, Indian are ethnic groups. Okay, Indian, Malay are the columns Chinese, Malay, Indian are ethnic groups. Add a column to calculate the ethnic diversity index for each year using the full Simpson diversity index formula that takes into account two elements of diversity: richness and evenness. Okay, diversity is spelled wrongly. Let me change it here. Evenness. All right. So richness means the number of ethnic group. And evenness means are the ethnic group spread evenly. So the more ethnic group present in a sample, the richer the sample. High ethnic diversity index close to 1 indicate high diversity. Low ethnic diversity index close to 0 indicate low diversity. Right, let's see whether let's go through the columns. Chinese, Malay, Indian are ethnic group here. So I want ChatGPT to add a column to calculate the ethnic diversity index for each year using the full Simpson's diversity index formula that takes into account two elements of diversity: richness and evenness. Richness refers to the number of ethnic group. All right. So here is rich because in this year there is a well mix of Malay, Chinese, Malay, and Indian. So here is not rich because there's only one race, Indian. And here, year 2022, there is two race. So evenness refers to whether the ethnic group is spread evenly. So in year 2014, it's not only rich with three races, it's also spread evenly. So in this year 2020, it is rich because it has three races, three ethnic group, but it's not even. The Chinese is very low, the Indians is there's a lot of. So Here it is not reached. All right. So I also explained that the more ethnic group present in a sample, the richer the sample. So high ethnic diversity index close to 1 indicates high diversity. Low ethnic diversity index close to 0 indicates low diversity. So this is going to be low diversity because there's only one ethnic group, and this is likely to be the higher end of the diversity. So when you're all set, let's click this button. So I wanted it to add a column here for the diversity, for the ethnic diversity index here. And I expect this to be higher, this to be the lowest. Let's see. Yes, it's calculating. All right. So here will be the higher end, here will be the lower end. There's something wrong here. Here should be higher. All right. Sometimes it didn't calculate correctly. So let me type your ethnic diversity index calculation is not correct. Year 2014 should have the highest ethnic diversity index, as it is the richest, what's the term I use? It has the highest richness and evenness, as it has the highest richness and evenness. Please recalculate. So he said, you are correct. I apologize for the mistake. So they recalculate it, and here's the updated table. Okay, looks good. Yep. This should have is the highest ethnic diversity index because there's 3 races here and they're evenly spread out. So this is the lowest because there's only one ethnic group. This one, second lowest because there's only 2 ethnic groups, followed by this. All right. So let's see what it's saying. Note that the ethnic diversity ranges from 0 to 1. The higher values indicate greater diversity. In this updated table, you can see that the ethnic diversity is highest in 2014 and lowest in 2023. Okay, so now I want you to explain why your earlier calculation is incorrect and different from your latest calculation of the diversity index. Enter. Okay, so you explained that the previous calculation was incorrect because it only took into account the richness of the ethnic group and did not consider the evenness. All right. So yeah, so here again, it said the earlier calculation did not consider, was incorrect because it did not consider evenness of the ethnic group. The updated calculation uses Simpson's diversity index formula, which takes into account both the richness and evenness of the ethnic groups to provide a more accurate measure of the ethnic diversity present in the population for each year. So sometimes you need to check their calculation. Okay. So let's see. They have calculated for me the diversity index. Okay. So now next, I want ChatGPT to show me how it actually calculated this ethnic diversity. All right. How did it calculated this? And how did it derive this 0.889 number and this 0.333 number? So let's type, show me how did you calculate calculate the, okay, there's a spelling error here, calculate the ethnic diversity index of 0.8889 for year 2014, and the ethnic diversity index of 0.3333 for year 2023. So I want it to show me how we calculated this and this. Let's click this and see. So sure, I did be happy to walk you through the calculation of the ethnic diversity for years 2014 and 2023. So it uses this formula. Okay. So this is the formula. And it got this number for year 2014. So for 2023, this is how we get the number. Now, I want you to explain why does year 2023 has a low ethnic diversity index, comma, while year 2014 ethnic diversity index is high. Okay, so it explains to me. In year 2014, the ethnic diversity index was high at 0.8, almost 1, because there were 3 ethnic groups, Chinese, Malay, and Indian, present in the population, and each group was represented relatively equal. This means that the population was diverse in terms of number of ethnic groups present. as well as how evenly the individuals were distributed among the ethnic group. In contrast, in year 2023, the ethnic diversity was low at 0.333, which is nearer to zero, because there was only one ethnic group, Indian, present in the population. Since there was only one ethnic group, the richness component of the diversity index was low, and there was no evenness component to take into account because there was only one ethnic group present. All right? All right, good. So it explains to me. So now next, let me show you how to analyze it further. So next, I want ChatGPT to derive a regression formula to predict revenue. I want it to predict the revenue here, given the advertising expense, inclusion rating, as well as the ethnic diversity index. So I'll give him a number for this column, and this column, and I will ask it to predict the revenue. So let's type it here. So using the above data, derive a regression formula to predict revenue, comma, given advertising expense equal to 80, inclusion rating equal 80, ethnic diversity index equal 0.8. Let me see. Okay. So notice I have given very high values. 80, which is almost 100, inclusion rating of also 80, which is almost 100, and this is almost equals to 1. Because I expect the revenue to be high, right? So let's see what is the prediction given this example. Okay, so it's showing you how it's doing. So remember, I'm given this advertising expense, inclusion rating, and an ethnic diversity index. I want it to predict the revenue. So it did up the working, and let's see. Yes. All right. So you go about its calculation, and it tells you that the predicted revenue based on the given variables, based on the advertising expense of 80, inclusion rating of 80, and diversity index of 0.8, we can substitute these values into the equation. So they have an equation, and they tell you that the predicted revenue is 6,000 plus. Right? Okay, next. Now I want it to predict with a different number. So I copy this, highlight this text, copy it, and paste it here. So let's change the value and make it lower. So advertising expense 20, inclusion rating 20, ethnic diversity index 20. So just now the advertising expense is higher, everything is higher here, the revenue is high. So when diversity is high, the revenue is high. Now I reduce the diversity index, reduce the advertising expense, reduce inclusion. So revenue is going to be less than this 6,000 figure. Let's see. Okay, so it's telling you how it does the calculation. Okay. And this is the regression equation formula that it derives from my data. So with this formula, it substitute in the value. So this is a formula. So advertising expense, if advertising expense is 20, you just substitute 20 into here. So if inclusion is 20, you substitute 20 into here. Okay, there's some more formula here. Yeah. And then if the ethnic diversity index is 0.2, you change it here. So you can change whatever number you want, and using this formula here, you can predict the revenue, right? So you substitute the numbers there, and the revenue is 600 plus, right? 600 plus is lower than the previous example, 6,000 plus, all right? So when diversity index is high, the revenue is high. So when the diversity is low, the revenue from 6,000 plus drops to 600. Isn't this cool? Okay, so now let's ask it to predict another thing. So I want it, remember my exercise, I want it to predict the impact of a 1% increase in ethnic diversity on an organizational revenue. So now let's ask it to do that. We can type here, what is the increase in revenue for every 1% increase in ethnic diversity index? And let's take a look. Yes, you've got it. So it tells you that for every 1% increase in ethnic diversity, for every 1% increase in ethnic diversity, we can expect an increase of 4,000 plus in revenue, holding other variables constant. So great. ChatGPT has done it. Okay. So now let's clear the conversation, clear all this. We can click this to clear it. Confirm clear conversations. Yes. So I cleared it. And let's get back to our Excel sheet for the next example. So I've done this example. Let's go on to the next. Now let me show you in this second example. Our second example is to predict the impact of a 1% increase in gender diversity on an organizational revenue. So now let's get to this sheet here. So here I have some data over the years. So in this example, I want to predict the impact of advertising expense, inclusion rating, and gender diversity on revenue. So now, similar to just now, let's select all this data, right click it, and copy. Then you go back to the ChatGPT, go to this box here, right click, and paste it there. And then click this button. Okay, so he knows that this is a table. And he asked me to clarify what information or insight you are looking for. Okay, so I want it to convert the above data set into a table. Oops, sorry, I didn't type it. Okay, let's type again. Convert the above data set into a table. And then I hit enter. So while it is generating, I can type as well the columns male, female are gender. Add a column to calculate the gender diversity index for each year using the full Simpsons diversity index formula that considers two elements of diversity. So, and the two elements are richness and evenness. You need to type this to get the correct answer that you want. Then richness refers to number of gender, and evenness evenness refers to there whether are the gender spread evenly. So high gender diversity index close to 1.0 indicate high gender diversity of male and female. Low gender diversity index close to 0.0 indicate low gender diversity of male and female. Okay, let's do a check whether I spelled correctly. Okay, let's see my instruction. The columns, male and female, these two columns are gender. So I want ChatGPT to add a column to calculate the gender diversity index for each of the year using the full Simpsons diversity index formula that considers two elements of diversity, richness and evenness. So richness, that is the number of gender, and evenness are the gender spread evenly. High gender diversity index close to 1.0 indicate high gender diversity of male and female. So low gender diversity close to 0 indicate low gender diversity of male and female. So now let's click this button and see. Okay, it is calculating the gender diversity. Okay, let's do a sanity check. Whether does it look right? So these two is half-half, and the gender diversity index is 0.5. And this is, there's no diversity, it's all male. So the gender diversity is close to 0. This is also close to 0. So it looks about right, right? It looks about right. This has the highest gender diversity index because it has both gender and evenly spread out. This has the lowest. Right? So now I want ChatGPT to show me how it calculated the gender diversity index for say year 2014 and 2023. So let's type here, show me how you calculate the gender diversity index for year 2014 and 2023. Then I hit, is it gender diversity? Yes. Okay, hit enter. So it's showing me how to calculate. So for year 2014, this is how it calculates. And this is how they get 0.5, right? Which is here. Then 2023, 0.32, and let's see. Yep, so it calculated. So it is about, they round it down to 0. Okay, so I want you to analyze. Why does year 2023 has a low gender diversity index, while year 2014 gender diversity index is high? And I hit, no, wait. 2023 has a low, 2023, yeah, it has a low diversity index. 2014 has a high diversity index. I know the answer, but let's see what ChatGPT has to say. So it explains the gender diversity index for year 2023 is low because there is no diversity in gender representation in the dataset. All the individuals in the dataset are males. So the proportion of males is 1 and the proportion of males is 0. This means that there's no evenness in the distribution of gender, resulting in a diversity index of 0. On the other hand, the gender diversity index for year 2014 is high because the proportions of male and female are equal. The proportion of male is 0.5 and the proportion of female is also 0.5. This indicates there is evenness in the distribution of gender, resulting in a high diversity index of 0.5. In summary, the gender diversity index is high when there's a balance or evenness in the distribution of gender representation, and low when there's a lack of diversity or unevenness in the distribution of gender representation. Okay, so it has shown me how to calculate, and it has also shown me, explained to me why it's high and why is low. Next, I want ChatGPT to derive a regression formula to make prediction. So at this chat box, let's type using the data, the above data, derive a regression formula to predict revenue, given advertising expense equals 80, inclusion rating equals 80, and the gender diversity index equals 0.8. And I hit enter and let's see. So this is the formula, right? This is the regression formula. And they fit in my numbers. 80 for advertising expense into here, all right? So they fit it all into this formula. Oh, it did not calculate for me. It gave me a formula, but it didn't calculate for me. So let me press this button to regenerate the response. Okay, let's see. So this is the formula. Therefore, the regression formula, so did it give me the answer? No, it didn't. Let me copy this again. This is what you need to do. If it didn't give you the answer, uh, using the derive, oh, so I asked it to derive, but it did not uh, predict for me the value. All right. So now what you need to do is to please predict the revenue given these numbers. All right. Now let's change the question. Okay. Yep. It gave me the answer. So how you ask the question is important. All right. Okay. Next, the other question I want to ask is here. So remember, I want to ask you to predict the impact of a 1% increase in gender diversity on an organization's revenue. So let's highlight this and copy it. Go to here, right click and paste it. So let's say using the above formula, predict the impact of a 1% increase in gender diversity on an organization revenue. So let's click this and see. Okay, so it's using this formula. And let's see. Okay, here's the answer. Therefore, a 1% increase in gender diversity index is predicted to increase the organization's revenue by $9. All right. So you have done this prediction. Now let's go to example 3. Predictive analytics. Prescriptive analytics. So I want it to prescribe interventions to enhance diversity and inclusion. Okay, so now go here. Let's clear our conversations again first. And let's go to my third example here. Okay, so here, in this example, I want ChatGPT to prescribe interventions to enhance employee engagement based on an organization's employee engagement feedback. So here, I have some feedback for employees from an employee engagement survey, some sample feedback. So I want ChatGPT to summarize this into positive feedback. No, I want you to categorize this feedback into gender-related feedback and ethnic-related feedback. So let's select this and right-click and copy. Then we go to ChatGPT, go to here, right-click and paste. Then I click on this and let's see. So I tell you that these are some feedback for employees. I want you to categorize all this feedback into gender-related and ethnic-related feedback. There, it did it. So you have categorized it into gender-related feedback, which is unequal pay, gender imbalance, harassment based on gender, and also ethnic. The feedback is lack of representation, microaggression, limited career opportunities. So there's a whole list here. Now, what is my next question? So next question, I want you to provide an overall sentiment for each category of feedback. So let's select here, copy it, get back here, right click and paste and hit enter. So I want you to provide a sentiment for each level of feedback. Oh, so it doesn't. No, let's regenerate response. Aha, you see, when I ask it to regenerate, it gives me the sentiment for each category. So for the gender-related feedback, it is negative sentiment due to unfair treatment based on gender and harassment or discrimination experienced by some employees. Whereas the sentiment for ethnic-related feedback is negative sentiment due to lack of inclusivity, representation, and equal opportunities for employees from diverse ethnic background. Now, based on this feedback, I want ChatGPT to prescribe interventions to enhance employee engagement. So now let's do it by typing here. So based on this feedback, prescribe as it to okay, wrong spelling here. Prescribe interventions to enhance employee engagement in bullet points. And then I hit enter. Cool. So it gives me the interventions for gender-related thing, like conduct gender pay gap analysis, develop, implement policies to prevent harassment. So it has a whole list. And then next, it gives me the ethnic-related interventions and this whole list of interventions here. All right, let's go to the last one. Last example, I want ChatGPT to derive the correlation between ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and revenue specific to an organization. So let me first explain what is correlation. So in correlation, a coefficient of 1, positive 1, means there is positive correlation. Positive correlation means the taller a person, the heavier the person is. So it goes travel in the same direction, like this graph. Negative correlation, coefficient of -1, here, it means negative correlation. So example, the more it rains, the less people go out. So it moves in different direction. So a coefficient of 0 means there's no correlation or no relationship. For example, there's no relationship between the amount of coffee you drink and your intelligence. So here again, I have some data over the years. In this example, I want to derive the correlation between ethnic diversity index, gender diversity index, and revenue. So whether there's a relationship between these three. So to do this, let's select the data. Don't select the year, just select these three that I want it to correlate. Right click and copy it. Now let's go to the ChatGPT screen. Oops, let's clear all this first. Clear conversations. Okay, and then go to here, right click and paste it. And then click this button. So ChatGPT says seems that you have provided a table with 3 columns: ethnic diversity index, gender diversity index, revenue, and 10 rows of data. It is unclear what your question or prompt is. Can you please provide more context and clarify what you would like me to do with this? So I want you to convert the above data set into a table. All right. I have a wrong spelling here. And here is data set. And let's click here. So it creates for me the data set. Mix this into a nice table. Next, I want you to create a correlation table for the above data. Then I hit enter. Cool. So here is the correlation table. So it explains the correlation coefficients ranges from -1 to 1, with 1 indicating a perfect positive correlation, which means that when one variable increases, the other variable also increases. 0 indicates no correlation, and -1 indicates a perfect negative correlation. That is, when one variable increases, the other variable decreases. So based on the above correlation table, we can see that there is a strong positive correlation between ethnic diversity and gender diversity, because it is positive 0.8, almost 1. So it's a strong positive correlation here, right? The intersection is the correlation between gender diversity and ethnic diversity. Okay, and then we see that there's a strong positive correlation between gender diversity and revenue, 0.9. So let's see, gender and the intercept between gender and revenue is 0.9. So there's a strong correlation. So the more diverse in terms of gender, the more the revenue of our organization increases. And then finally, there's a moderate positive correlation between ethnic diversity and revenue of 0.7. So where ethnic diversity intercepts with revenue is 0.7. It's also strong, but just not as strong as the gender link with the link between gender and revenue. So when your ethnic is more diverse, your revenue also increases. All right, let's get back to our main screen here. Okay, that's it. So I've covered with you 4 examples here on diversity and inclusion analytics. Okay, that's it. I hope that you find the video useful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the HR Diary channel. Thank you.